Hey
Look,
DJ, you want to tell the people how late
look,
you were?
I wasn't late, never late. I'm always on time, actually. Y'all
We were
know.
supposed to
Anybody
do
who
this at
knows me
10
knows
o'clock.
that I'm the most on time person that ever was.
We were
And
supposed
you
to do this at 10 o'clock. It is
and
10:26.
and you would never take a bet that I would be the late one to the occasion. Never, never doesn't happen. I'm always on time, always, every time. But anywho, we got plenty to talk about in this wrestling world right now. I mean, CM Punk, they showing videos of CM Punk over there somewhere, right? Trying to get some ratings going on. Rhea Ripley's injured, and we're all just so sad because mommy's out, bro. Like we all just feeling sad. We got a new member to the bloodline. It's me. We got a new member to the bloodline
It ain't you.
also.
It ain't
And
you.
we got look, man, look. I know you're excited about this one. I know you're excited about this one. We
Well,
got new tag team title belts. We gotta talk about it. We gotta talk about all of it, but I gotta give y'all a chance, all right? To not only hit that subscribe button, right? Not only do that, if you listening to give us a heart and add us to your favorites as your, in your queue, all right. But also, I gotta give y'all time to get y'all's popcorn and to get y'all's drink and be ready for one heck of a show because
they
we
was
about to bring
already
it to
ready
you.
because you was
We
26 minutes
about to
late.
bring it to you right here on the Instant Classic Wrestling Podcast, the only podcast that is always, and I mean always, and Casey, when we come back, gonna mean always, an Instant Classic. Hey, hey, hit the jam, hit the move. I feel like we should start the show by dancing from now on. I just think,
I used to do that all the
hey,
time. You thought it
you know
was
what,
dumb.
Casey? I remember back in the day when you was hitting the moves like that, and I used to always laugh because I was like, you know what? I needed some of the moves in my life. You hit your foot up like that.
But
Look,
I used to dance with I don't like this theme though. We need a new
okay,
theme, I
we're
think.
gonna have to come together and,
I
and
can't
find a new
move to
theme
this one.
so
I
you can
can't.
get some groovy moves in. But anyway, welcome in to the Instant Classic Wrestling Podcast, the only podcast that is always. I am DJ, and he means always. That is Casey. It's the other way. He means always. That's
Come over
Casey.
here.
An Instant Classic, and we got to talk about. I mean, it's so much to talk about. We might not even talk about all of it, but I know for a fact we got to start with this CM Punk stuff, okay? Because AEW, AEW decided that the youthful bucks were going to play a video to kind of just embarrass CM Punk, embarrass Jack Perry a little bit, kind of build some heat. Apparently, the buildup was for them versus FTR, which ain't even got nothing to do with this. I mean, they kind of friends with CM Punk, but that's about it. But they played this video in hopes, right? In hopes that maybe they could get a little bit of embarrassment on CM Punk's end, and we're gonna play it for you real quick because I want you guys to see this. But first and foremost, I want you guys to see this. I want you guys to see
They
what
they gonna
AEW tried to pull.
they
Okay,
gonna send us a cease and desist because they trying to get this video
that's
taken.
true. That's true. They trying to get this video taken down. I think this is it right here. Yeah, we're gonna pull this up. And we're gonna let you guys see this. Hopefully, they'll put us on the side so y'all can still see what's going on. All right, so we're gonna play this. There's no audio to it, so y'all can watch along, narrate if y'all want, and then CM Punk comes up and Jack Perry says, "No, no, no." Okay, I'm gonna do all that. All right, okay, all right, I stop, man. Shout out to It's Humor for Me. He said, "Gay Punk free, uh, full free promotion. They played themselves." He said. So glad I've never wasted 1 second ever watching AEW. That's a topic of discussion that I want to talk about here in a minute. So I'm gonna get back to you. It's humor for me. Shout out to you for stopping by, and hopping into the conversation. But it's crazy because when you watch the video, CM Punk, he kind of said, he said exactly what he did, right? And I don't remember exactly. You might know verbatim what he said. Do you know verbatim what Punk said? Like what? Like in his interview when he talked about the situation because the
He
situation looks spot on. I just don't.
he
I'm just not recalling it.
basically what he said was he didn't punch nobody. He just choked him a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he shoved him a little bit, but like,
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, there's some sound. Okay, let's watch it again just for kicks and giggles. But yeah. So, I thought that was gonna do the. Okay, there we go. That's not what I wanted because I want you to be on the screen too. Okay, we're just gonna keep it like that. Look. So, what was your thoughts when you saw this? First off, for me, I know I thought, why are they doing this? Like, they're not proving anything wrong. Honestly, they're making themselves look bad. And if you look at the end of the video, you'll see it here in a little bit. You know, I posted in the group chat. I'm like, it don't look like anybody fearing for their lives to me. You know, and it was funny because he said that in the interview. I remember him saying he kind of said this place is a joke. I quit, which sounds a lot different than he's been fired. But that's just my thoughts on those things. I know I'm sure you got some other thoughts.
I've watched this video so many times, and I've watched countless different podcasts and wrestling shows talk about this video, from WWE Hall of Famers to other random dudes with wrestling podcasts.
Yeah.
I haven't seen anyone say that this was a win for AEW, because it wasn't. This was the dumbest thing they could have done. It didn't make Punk look bad at all. I mean, you could stretch and be like, well, he shoved him first. Okay, but what did Jack say? What
Mm-hmm.
I want to see, there has to be video, with audio.
Yeah.
And I feel like there has to be another angle, because in any, especially in an arena, there's going to be multiple security cameras with multiple angles, so you can see different things. Like, in case something happens, security can look at multiple angles of something.
Yep.
Especially like Wembley Arena, they have to have more than that, just one camera.
Yeah.
But again, this does nothing, absolutely nothing. And I'll get to it in a little bit, but there's possible legal issues as well going on with this.
Yeah. And I think for me, and shout out to Is Humor for me for continuing to stay in this conversation, but he said, looks like two men in a scuffle.
I've seen more, intense scuffles in high school.
Yeah. Well, and it's interesting to me because that's what I said. Like for me, you can err on the side of unprofessionalism, blah, 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 whatever. But I even said it in the group chat, for me, this is like any physical sport locker room, right? If you've ever been a part of, or at least familiar with, any sort of physical sport, that's basketball included. Baseball locker rooms are the same way. Football locker rooms, especially. I'm sure UFC locker rooms get a little chippy sometimes from now, every so often too. This stuff happens, right? Like, this to me was, he wasn't wailing on the dude, right? He wasn't wailing on the dude. Jack said something. He said, "Nah, we're not doing that." And Punk's bigger than Jack, so Jack shouldn't have picked a fight with a person he couldn't beat. That's how I feel about it. And for me, like, even in terms of like the professionalism and all that, I don't really care about that, because if Tony Khan was a real boss, Tony Khan could say, "Hey, this got to be squashed. Either it can be, and I think you were the one that said it in the group chat, and I'm sure you'll bring it up too. You can elaborate a little more. Either take it out back, or let's sit down, have a discussion, and we can do some business." Because the amount of money that AEW lost off of the real life heat of the Bucks and CM Punk, they're trying to get some of it back, because they lost a lot of money off of real life heat between the Bucks and CM Punk. They lost a lot of money. They lost a whole lot of money off of real life heat between Kenny Omega and CM Punk to even main event a pay-per-view that they could have done. They missed out on all of this. all for egos, right? Because I've been saying this for a long time, especially since the first brawl out situation happened, right? I've been sitting here saying, hey, put your egos aside, because I think Punk would. That's the funny part about it. Punk's an adult. Punk would, right? Punk will put his ego aside and do business with you. We've seen Matt Hardy and Edge have real life heat, put their differences aside, and make a really good program out of it. And this is something that could have happened. And I feel like Punk kind of started it a little bit, right? Even with the Jack Perry stuff, he had real life heat with Jack Perry, real life heat with Hangman Page, right? He cut these scathing promos on these dudes, and unfortunately, dudes who can't keep up with him on the mic, were getting eaten alive by him. But like, that's the best stuff, right? That's why everybody was so excited to see CM Punk versus Seth, because we knew for a fact there's a little bit of animosity there, and there's nothing like wrestling with a little bit of realism in it, right? There's nothing like wrestling with a little bit, just a little bit of real life heat, enough heat to where there's still animosity there, but you can sit down like men and do business. That's how I feel.
Yeah, and that's the thing. That shows the drastic difference between guys, WWE superstars, right, and AEW wrestlers, right? Seth Rollins, a consummate professional, at one of the best. I saw someone say, uh, I saw someone say that Seth Rollins is one of, if not the best performer today,
Mm-hmm.
and I can agree with that because he's a professional, right?
Mm-hmm.
He can put, and CM Punk as well. They can put their differences aside and say, "Hey, let's go out there and let's make money
Mm-hmm.
because our feud is going to make money because
Yep.
people want to see people have dreamed of seeing Seth Rollins versus CM Punk.
Yep.
I've dreamed of seeing that. So they can,
Mm-hmm.
if there's issues between them, they can put that aside.
Yep.
Unfortunately, guys in AEW can't do that, and I wish that they could. We'll get to the Edge promo a
Mm-hmm.
week prior that kind of was derailed by all of this.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, if you could just put things aside and be like, "Hey, let's make money,"
Yeah.
you could have made AEW so much more money.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and like you said, and like I've said, I've been in plenty of locker rooms where guys there was heat between this person or that person, you
Mm-hmm.
know, and it's like, listen, in this building, in the ring, in this in this locker room, we're here to make money. We're here to put asses in seats. We're here to entertain the people. Y'all have a problem, you can take it out to the parking lot, deal with it, man to man, or squash it, and we can go do business and make money.
Yep.
That's
And
how
we,
it should be. You
and
don't
we talked.
have to like everybody.
Yeah. And it's funny, we talked about it, like, in the territories, that's what you do.
Yeah.
Like, even in the indies, I feel like they still do that to this day. Like,
Well,
if there's something going on, like, you go fix it, and we go do business. That's how it goes.
and you just made me think of it, so I'm gonna say it now. But and I said this to Adam, and he 100% agreed with me. Uh, being the fact that basically Perry got his ass handed to him and had to be saved by Samoa Joe. The rumor is that they're gonna bring Jack Perry back, or they might bring Jack Perry back.
Mm-hmm.
If it was me, absolutely not. Because I'm thinking about the territory days. You brought up the territory days. I believe it was Bill Watts, the legendary promoter Bill Watts. If you got into a fight in a bar and you lost that fight, you weren't in his roster anymore. You weren't on his shows anymore.
Yeah.
Because if you can't win a bar fight, why do I want you in on my show? Why do I want you in my ring if you can't win a bar fight?
Mm-hmm.
You know? So like it's like if you if he got his ass handed to him by a guy that doesn't even work for AEW anymore, why would you bring him back?
Yep, that's true. That's true, and it's crazy. Shout out to Emma, by the way.
No, no shout out to Emma.
Shout out to Emma.
I take that. Nope. Nope.
And she said, she's got you. Uh, but it's interesting because this brings up an interesting point too, and It's Humor for Me brought up another point that about AEW that I think is worth talking about earlier as well. But he was talking about how Tony doesn't want to make any money, or crave the hustle because he's never had to work for anything, which I think could be a valid point. Coming from money. Basically, AEW was given to him kind of on a silver platter by practically just the ideas of the guys who created it, and then he just had the funding for it. I don't think he's not passionate about AEW. I just don't think he knows what he's doing. And it's funny because go ahead, because I want to mention WCW and I want to hear your thoughts on it as well. But
to an extent, I don't think he wants to make money. He wants to make friends. He wants to make friends and have his, his childhood, fantasy of having his own wrestling show. Because in a sense, he doesn't have to make money because his dad's funding everything and just throwing whatever money he wants to throw at him.
Yeah.
So it's like, if your dad's going to constantly just give you money anyway, what's the point? Why do you need to make money? But that's where the roster needs to be like, okay, Tony, but we also want to make money.
Yeah. And I mean, and we've talked about this before too, like, and this will bring up It's Humor for Me's point up here, but there's a lot of potential with AEW, right? Like, I mean, they have a talented roster. They have veterans in the back. They have guys who can call the matches. They have everything you need. They have good ring announcers, whatever. Of course, they have the money. They have the TV deal. And that's why they've been able to stick around for as long as they have. But it's just like, kind of like we talked about before, something's missing. Is it lack of leadership? Is it a guy who's been there, done that? Love or hate Triple H as much as you want. He's been there, he's done that. He knows everything there needs to know. Going back to Vince before, right? Vince had been there, done that, right? Vince had been there, he had done that. He had been through anything you needed to go through. He wasn't necessarily a worker per se, but he knew what he needed to know to do exactly what he needed to do. And It's Humor for Me had asked the question, how much longer before AEW goes out of business? He says 5 years or less. And for me, and I, it's funny because I'm not horribly familiar with WCW of the 2000s, but I've heard a lot of comparisons. Sometimes I feel like it could be similar to that too, just from what I've heard. But you were there, CaseE, for WCW of the 2000s.
I was there for WWE. I was.
Yeah, you were WWE of the 2002. But what is this comparable to that? Is it worse? Like what? And even to answer the question below, right? I think as long as Tony's being funded, I think he could last for another 10, 15 years if he wanted to. That's really going to depend, like.
And that's the thing. It's AEW is not going to go out of business because as long as it's still being funded, that's it's still going to go on somehow. I think the main issue is going to be keeping the TV deal.
Yeah.
Because these networks don't care how much money your dad has. They don't care how much money you have. They care, are people watching our show? And if people aren't watching our I should say our channel, and if people aren't watching our our channel or your show, then why do we have your show on our channel?
Yep.
It's like it's like a mall having a store that never makes any money and isn't bringing people in. Why would we want that store in our facility? And I you can see a lot of of parallels to the later days of WCW. All you have to do, and people have been like, "Oh well, Tony Schiavone was just selling the moment." No, 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 no. You look at Schiavone's face after they showed that, he was making that reaction because he was there.
Mm-hmm.
He was there when WCW was, going downhill, when they were making all these dumb decisions and stupid, ideas. He's seeing it, you know, unravel in front of his face again.
Yeah, 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 and I think, for me, um, you know, kind of like you said, I think somebody's gonna have to buy AEW, but AEW has the funds, right? We've seen, TNA is one of them, one of my favorites, but one of them who's been able to stick around by hook or by crook, no matter what financial situation they're in, they figure it out and keep going. Now TNA is not what it used to be in terms of production quality or anything like that, but we obviously know NWA is another one where it's like we know even with a namesake, you can only do but so much, and the thing about it is, and I don't know how you feel about this, and I'm curious, even it's the humor for me, how you feel about this too. I feel like once wrestling fans turn their back on you, good luck getting back up. I don't know what it is. I don't know if it's just like wrestling fans, once they get uninterested, it's hard to get them back. But for whatever reason, WWE stood the test of time. They're like the outlier, right? They've had fans leave and fans come back, right? I was talking about it in the Mania review. They've had fans leave for 15 years, come back and say this was an awesome Mania, I would watch some more. And I don't know if anyone will ever come close to what that is, right? And that's the thing. Like it's so hard to come up, so hard to get back up, and I'm not sure why that is. I don't know, Casey, if you have any insights on that or how you feel about it. But I just, even like TNA, I've watched TNA consistently. Every so, like, I would watch TNA consistently, and then every so often I'd fall off. But I always enjoy TNA. But it's like people just don't want to watch anymore for whatever reason it is. Sometimes that's TV deals, sometimes that's the money behind it, stuff like that too. But it's just hard once they give up on you. Good luck.
I think it's multiple reasons. I think one, wrestling fans are smart, right? I feel like it's always acted like, oh, wrestling fans aren't smart, but wrestling fans are smart, and they don't like when they feel like you're insulting their intelligence, and that happens all too often in wrestling. Um, Also, like like you said with TV deals, people, as even even wrestling fans to an extent are lazy, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you and I have talked about this for years with different wrestling promotions. If it's not right in front of them, a lot of fans don't want to look for it. They don't want to search for you know where to watch NWA. They don't want to search for where to watch Ring of Honor. They don't want to search to find where to watch MLW or whatever, unless
Mm-hmm.
they're like hardcore wrestling fans,
Yep.
right? The casual fan isn't gonna go out of their way to find oh, where's TNA play on now.
And
Do I get
even
that
like
channel?
the comment below, even some hardcore fans aren't gonna.
Yeah.
And some of that goes back to, and we'll see what Netflix does with WWE when that happens. If that changes some things, but Tanner's talked about it. Tanner's been on the last couple shows. He's talked about it. He doesn't have cable, so his only way to keep up with WWE is YouTube. And everything's on YouTube. You know, um, everything's on YouTube. Everything's on YouTube. And I think that's the thing. I think that might even be how I consume my TNA content from now on, is through YouTube. Because it's just so hard to find. I want to watch it. It's just hard to find.
And to an extent, I think it's more the younger generation coming up, right? Like for me, back in the day, I would search for people's matches on YouTube, right?
Mm-hmm.
When I first started watching TNA back in like the early days of TNA, and I saw guys like AJ Styles, Chris Sabin, Kazarian, all those guys, right?
Yeah.
I wanted to know, okay, where these guys come from, so I had to search, and I looked on YouTube and found like some of their matches from before TNA. But again, fans don't want to do that now. It's we're in the era of you can have everything at your fingertips, but unless it's already there, you don't want to search for it.
Mm-hmm. Yep, that's true. And it's human for me. Shout out to you for making some good points. We don't want our intelligence insulted. Thigh slaps, no DQ matches. Like we understand what's going on. Uh, we definitely we definitely get it. And I can understand where you're coming from. I'm curious too. Like, what were your thoughts on NXT at its peak? Did you like NXT at its peak just because of what what you're saying in the comments? I'm curious to see if you were a fan of NXT and if that's the style of wrestling you would like, or what would you like to see from WWE to get you kind of in tune? But
And to kind of piggyback off of his comment there, with like the thigh slaps and everything, it's an ongoing joke in wrestling anymore. Thigh slaps. You
yeah,
know, um, there's a guy on TikTok. I forgot what his name is, but he's an indie wrestler, and he jokes about thigh slaps with everything. But to an extent, like it is beneficial, right? Because you want some sort of a sound accompanying, you know, moves and things like that, because it helps, you know, bring everything together, right? If you hit somebody and there's no, like, for example, if you chop somebody and there was no sound, it takes a little bit away from what you did. The
mm-hmm.
sound does help, but it's when you're doing it so obviously and doing it all the time.
Yeah,
Um, like, for example, a lot of guys will stomp when they do like punches to get some
mm-hmm.
sort of to get a sound, right?
Yep,
To you know, but you don't want to make it so obvious that, oh, that guy's stomping his foot every time he goes for a punch.
yep,
You want to make it subtle so that yes, it makes the sound, when obviously, like, if you actually punch somebody, it's not going to make that sound, but you want to make everything a little bit more dramatic, because
right.
that's basically what we're doing. We're pretend it's a pretend fight, whatever, but it's the drama of it. It's that's basically, at the end of the day. But again, it's the stuff that people do too much, and it gets like, you're like, okay, you know why are we doing another, no DQ match? Is it
Yeah,
because, the booking is just lazy? Is
yeah.
it,
And I think too, like on the topic of the thigh slap, for me, I enjoy a good thigh slap. I ain't gonna lie to you. Just because, just for kind of like what you just said though, like it adds in me suspending my disbelief while I'm watching a show. It it depends. Like when I'm watching a show, right? When I'm watching a show and I hear, kind of like you said, a thud or a thigh slap, the not the fact of the thigh being slapped, but the sound effect, depending on what it is. Um, you know, depending on what it is, it makes it sound better, I feel like. Um, you know, and you mentioned if you watch MMA, you would never need a thigh slap, but they're actually punching each other, and also they're punching each other with gloves, so it's not going to sound like that. Um, skin popping sounds like it sounds like a slap. Now, not all the time, of course, kind of like you said, there's thuds and stuff like that. That's where stomping the canvas and all that comes into play. But I mean, I think there are some moves that need some sort of an extra sound effect to give it that extra oomph. Or even, and sometimes it's not even that. Sometimes it's just like to give it that extra, but for real, what was that, type situation.
Yeah.
But that's just for me.
And it goes to the sound is a huge part of professional wrestling, right? Big companies will even mic up under the ring. So, for example, when somebody takes a bump, you hear the impact of the bump.
Mm-hmm.
Just imagine if you were watching WWE and somebody took a bump and you didn't hear anything. It would take so much away from it. So yes, sound is good. It's just how you do it. And there's been guys, that I've watched and that I've known that still will do either a thigh slap or like a stomach slap, but they've learned when to do it and how to do it to make it not as obvious. You don't have to do it every single time.
Right.
But if it's like that big, final blow, then okay, do it. But try to hide it a little bit.
Yeah, I agree. Kind of like he said below. With Drew, why is there a handprint on Drew McIntyre's thighs when nobody's hit him there? Yeah, but it's hard because going back to like selling and all that, these guys are doing all they can to make everything look so real because everybody says, "Oh, this is fake." So I think there's a little bit of probably some overcompensation too, to try to make it feel more impressive. Make it feel more realistic.
But even with that, though, it's like my trainer would say this, and so many other people in wrestling have said this. Like, how if you were actually in a fight, how many times could you punch somebody in the face before either you break their nose, knock them out, or break your hand?
Yeah,
like there's some stuff that's just they want the realism, but it's too like it's over the top. It's like that never doesn't make any sense.
right.
Like if you kick somebody in the face in real life, like they're not gonna kick out at 2.
Yeah, and I mean, definitely agreeing with your points. Is humor is the humor for me because like it's it's one of those things where we've talked about this plenty of times on the show.
We need a lot. That one I need barricade spears every time.
It's we talked about it kind of like John Cena throwing the steel steps, right? Like it was cool one time, they did it 100 times because it was cool that one time, right? It's just it's certain writers do certain things for whatever reason we don't know, but anyway, but yeah, more grappling. Yeah, I agree. I love a good slow paced build up match too.
And I've said this before. I think we've both said this along with Adam.
Mm-hmm.
I almost feel like the wrestling fan base needs to kind of be retrained to enjoy wrestling. Like, I'm so tired, and I still hear this at wrestling shows sometimes when, the term rest hold or, is when somebody's working a headlock or something. This is boring. Like, no, it's not. It's telling a story.
Yep.
It is telling a story. And not everything in a match can be, super speed, like pow, 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 pow. You have to slow down sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
You have to let people, process what's happening, and sometimes you need to grab a hold to communicate.
Yep. I agree. I definitely agree. Yeah. And I think a barricade spear would be amazing in 2 years time after we didn't see it.
No, we need it every week, every show. Every match.
Every match, yeah. Kind of like Canadian Destroyer is another one of those moves. But let's move on.
I
Let's
used to
move on.
love that move so much.
um, let's move on to the Rhea Ripley news of her unfortunately getting injured, ending her pretty long, wrong one again, pretty long title reign of 380-ish days or something like that, a little over a year because she won at Mania last year. So an unfortunate end to what's been a pretty good run. I think Liv Morgan was the culprit here. I'm sure she won't get a title out of it because she doesn't need a title. She needs something more than a title. Title is not what she needs right now because I don't care about Liv Morgan right now. I don't care that she injured Rhea Ripley. I think they're going to be able to story off of this. Not for me. But yeah, it sucks that she's injured because she was doing some good work. She has been very consistent. She's gotten herself over. Even being a heel, she's still gotten herself over. And I think, I hate that she is injured, but of course this stuff as fake as wrestling is, injuries happen. So I always like to bring that up because people are really funny about talking about how fake wrestling is until an injury comes around. But anywho, what's your thoughts on her reign? On her reign in general, and is Humor for Me mentioned putting the title on Nia Jax, which is interesting. I've heard a lot. I've heard plenty of people on this show say that shouldn't happen. I personally wouldn't be mad about it. Okay. She's been around the title scene for a long time and never won it. I think she should, even
That's
if it's
because
one of
she
those.
hurts everybody she's in the ring with.
Lately, though, has she hurt anybody lately? That's all I'm saying.
She probably hurt Rhea.
It was Liv. Anyway, and because she's cute, we're not gonna say nothing. But anyway, look, for me, and I'll pull that comment up. For me, I think Nia will be good, even if it's transitional, right? Even if it's just to give her the title run, because she's literally she's doing good work right now. I feel like, and I think a short title run would do a title good because we've had long title runs for a while now. So I agree. I think Nia could be in the in the running here. What how are you feeling about Rhea and maybe potentially what happens next?
Well, y'all wrong. First of all, y'all wrong. First of all, I thought this was a work. I thought this was a work to get the title off of Rhea because nobody was going to be able to beat her. And that's not the only reason that I thought this was a work, because I was like, how did Liv hurt her shoulder when she threw a chair at her face? Like, she had to have been injured at Mania or something, because no, she threw the chair at her face. It didn't even hit her shoulder. What? I mean, maybe, but I don't know. I mean, it sucks because she was a really dominant, champion. Everyone was behind her, even though she was a heel. Everyone loved her. Um, I don't know, who do you put the title on now? Because I feel like whoever you put the title on, it's gonna kind of be like a consolation prize to the fans because the fans loved Rhea so much.
Yeah.
Right? So whoever it is, they're gonna have to, take that belt and really do something good with it.
I will say it's Humor for Me. I disagree. Now I haven't watched the episode where well no I watched the episode but somehow I missed the part where where Rhea got hurt. I disagree. I feel like Liv having a chair is completely realistic because Liv is about as tiny as they come, and that's about the only way she's gonna compete with Rhea Ripley. So I'm kind of cool with it. All right, now should she have hurt her? No. If you're coming from the fact of chairs are used too much type situation, then you might have a point. But in terms of having the chair from a logical perspective, I'm cool with it. But yeah. New tag team title. Should we get into that one real quick? Let's take a look. New World Tag Team titles. I've seen a leak. Maybe it was a leak for the I guess the SmackDown tag titles. The I guess they'd be the WWE tag team titles. Maybe again.
If they look the same, just different colors, I'm gonna be so upset.
Yeah, for me, I'm one of those weird people that I want to see the belt on somebody first to just make sure I don't like it.
I feel like for me, like I've been trying to look at these belts for a while because initially I hated them, and I was trying to figure out, okay, what do I hate about them? I think it's again because it's basically the same as the others. It's just a circle. And then I hate the big WWE logo in the center. You don't need a huge WWE logo in the center. And
wait,
then
but isn't this like a mashup of two of their other titles though?
Probably.
It looks like it. I'm blanking on which ones off the top of my head, but it feels like it's the Intercontinental, one of the mid-card titles, plus something else. Let's look.
But like also where it says like, just say World Wrestling or Tag Team Champions or whatever, I don't like that. It looks like it's red behind it. It doesn't look like it fits.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Like, it looks like somebody put this together in like Photoshop.
They might have did. I will say, so it's given, and hopefully I can pull this up for you guys, but it's given. Okay, so let's look at this. So it's given WWE the championship that Seth has, right? Let's just look.
Yeah.
Right? Or not Seth, but Damian Priest now. The championship he has.
Yeah.
With the gosh, where is it at? I just saw it.
The Intercontinental?
Yes. That's what it's given. It's given a combination of those two. It's supposed to match the same family as IC. Okay, that makes sense now. That makes sense. I agree too. Like we talked about this plenty of times before. Bring back the. It's hard though because, one title per division definitely makes sense. My thing is, this is where my kind of pushback on that happens sometimes. Humor is there's so many shows. If you're gonna have a brand split, have a brand split, right? Like that's my thing. That's what I always go back to. If you're gonna have a brand split, have a brand split. And if you're gonna have all these titles, and I've always said it. I've always said it before. Like if you're gonna do a brand split, make each brand individually unique, right? Kind of, and I'll mix your idea. I've mixed your idea in with the brand split situation. Have one world title for Raw, for SmackDown. Let's say Raw, since it's your flagship show, right? Have your mid card title, or maybe even your mid card titles. I don't know. Be like the main titles on SmackDown. We've talked about the cruiserweight stuff. They're probably, and I'm thinking back to when they actually had a division and it was worth a darn. And we were coming off the Cruiserweight Classic. Have the Cruiserweight title be on one, have the women be on the other. Maybe you have women's tag team on on a different show than women's singles. So you still get, you get a little bit of everything, but it still makes everything different. That's how I feel about it. Yeah.
I feel completely different.
Oh, do you? Okay.
I think you wrong. Um, how I would ideally do a brand split, and I think we talked about this in the very beginning when they first did the brand split.
Mm-hmm.
Is I would have the WWE Championship, just the WWE Championship,
Yep.
one set of tag team titles,
Mm-hmm.
one or two mid card titles, and one women's championship. And you actually have it feel like Raw is competing with SmackDown, and you have you have number one contendership matches right
Mm-hmm.
on Raw or SmackDown, and then whoever the number one contendership say on SmackDown, and would go against the whoever has the women's championship on Raw,
Yeah.
and it goes from back and forth.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
To me that makes more sense. Like then it would feel like a real competition. Now
Yeah.
it's just, it feels like it's two different companies, and
Yeah.
I
And my thing is, if you're gonna have, because I'm trying to come from a sense of, you're gonna have all these titles anyway. At least make each brand unique based off of the titles or something, and Humor brought up a good point. You know, it would be cool to have them touring different coasts, right? That I like that idea a lot. I've never thought, I've never, not that I've never heard of it, I've never thought of it that way. Um, and keep it split. But and we talked about this before. I don't know what it is with WWE and the brand split. And like I said, I'm cool with it when it comes to like Survivor Series. If you want to do some sort of inter promotional pay-per-view every so often, like once or twice a year or something, cool. I mean, I get Mania, I get Rumble, Survivor Series, maybe even SummerSlam, just to like, keep your big four or whatever. But like I just feel like I wish they would do a little more with the with not the titles, but with the brand split. Because the draft has just taken a turn where you just don't even care anymore. You just, oh wow, something happened. Okay, cool. Oh, there was a random NXT call up. Okay, cool.
there's no point anymore. There's
Yeah.
really no point.
Yep.
The only reason WWE has a brand split anymore is because they have so many wrestlers.
Yep. That's true. Mm-hmm. I agree. And I mean, I feel like Mania season is sometimes a little harder to do a brand split for the simple fact of, you want to build Mania up across the shows. I get that. But after that, especially with Backlash, now we're post Mania and whatnot with Backlash and stuff, like, I can understand it. But, sometimes I think some of this goes back to money and trying to make the most money you can. A company is going to make their money despite themselves is going to be WWE. And if that means putting Cody Rhodes on both shows because they know for a fact that people going to come see him, they're going to do it. And I mean, I get it. It's not always the best thing for the fans per se, but I get it. Anywho, Casey, any final thoughts on anything? Anything else you want to talk about? Anything else came across your desk?
Well, I had something on my desk that we were going to talk about before, and then you kind of moved on to other
Oh,
things.
what was it?
So, CM Punk's lawyer brought this up kind of casually, if you will, but basically, in the UK, in England, it is illegal to show CCTV, for example, security cam footage for entertainment purposes.
Mm-hmm.
So, if the authorities in the UK wanted to, they could probably not only get AEW for legal issues, but also I feel like technically the arena too, because AEW would have had to have gotten the security cam footage from Wembley.
Yep.
So
That's true.
I partially I kind of want to see that play out. It probably
Yeah.
won't because it's not worth it. But I because they had to be so petty and had to try to embarrass CM Punk, which epically
Mhm.
already failed and blew up in their face. I
Yep.
also want to see that backfire on them. I
Yep.
just
True.
for the karma of it, you know. It's
Yep.
probably not going to, but I would love for that to happen.
Yeah. Yeah. That is pretty crazy. You know, and you know, I've kind of seen them kind of take every video down, and I haven't thought about why, but that, you know, you two do bring up a good point of kind of the legalities of it and what that means. So it'll be interesting. Luckily, AEW's got money to blow. Uh,
And and
so,
the funny part is, you would think Tony Khan would know this because his dad owns a soccer team in the UK.
oh yeah, that's true.
Like, bruh, what are you doing,
Yep, that is
bruh?
true. That is
And
true.
that's CM Punk.
That is CM Punk. Just in case you guys didn't know who CM Punk was, there you go. We
That's
got y'all.
that's
We we
Phil. That's
we
Philip.
we got y'all. We got you.
But do we have
Anyway,
him on the show though?
maybe we maybe y'all stay tuned for that one. Y'all stay tuned.
DJ's working on it.
Working on it, but definitely hope you
DJ
guys.
putting the money in for that one.
Okay, I don't know about all that, but definitely hope you guys enjoyed the show. I'm gonna make CaseE spend his wrestling money on that. You know, his worker money. You know,
No, you the money man.
I think he the money man. So
Justin the money man.
that's true. Justin is the money man. But remember that you can always watch or listen to the Instant Classic Wrestling Podcast on all major podcasting platforms, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube podcast, or whatever YouTube is now. But anywho, you can listen to us everywhere. Take us with you. Take us to work with you. You know, play us on your loudspeaker. Whatever you got to do. Appreciate our good friend over there for coming by. Not you, Casey. I'm talking about it's the humor for me because he been all up in this discussion tonight. I appreciate that. Definitely hope you guys enjoyed. Emma was with us. She was here. If anybody else was with us,
We don't need to talk about her.
if
We don't.
anybody else was with us and we just didn't see you because you didn't comment, let us know so we can say hey to y'all next time. All right. But definitely hope you guys enjoyed the show. This has been the Instant Classic Wrestling Podcast, the only podcast that is always, and I mean always, and be sure to subscribe, an instant.